develop new approaches for that as well, and it's called Social Innovation Agenda. So therefore, this becomes extremely important. This is from The Economist. It might be difficult to read, but it highlights that the forecast is that the United States will be, during the next 15 years, one of the big economies, but there is a lot of challenge taking place. And the challenge is this dimension of Asia, and that takes us to this. As I said earlier, more than 10 years ago, we published this Unseen Wealth in Washington. In February last year, this was presented by the Business Week based on a research from the Federal Reserve in the United States and University of Maryland outside Washington. Why is it so much stronger than you think? And how do we unmask the economy? How do we, so to say, challenge the traditional perspective? And they did by this. So the lower curve shows the investment in the United States economy focused on tangibles, excluding intangibles. And then you add the intangibles, and then you get the total curve. And the investment level is roughly around $1 trillion per year. But you see also the trend at the end. What is the implication for the value of the US dollar behind this? This is quizzics in practice. What is the forecast for the value of the United States currency when you see this kind of curve? Is it a good investment to have your assets in US dollar? Or could it be that based on this little sign, you should start to think about the implication? What are the implications in the currency negotiations between China and US on the subject area? Which one should be revalued or devalued based on these statistics? The lower part of the curve is what you find in the national statistics. The upper curve is called hidden assets, intangibles. And the value of the knowledge immigration, to give you one little illustration of it, the value of knowledge immigrations of brains coming into the United States, educated outside US, working in Silicon Valley or some other places, is roughly $300 billion per year. Do you want to have extremely easy entry for these people into the nation? Or do you want to make it difficult for them to fly in and have a lot of security checkups if they are of the right background to come and work for you? Well, you see the latter part more frequent than the other one. So therefore, the tourism in the United States has decreased more than 10% during the last year. People are extremely influenced by some of these security regulations, which has an impact for the future of the nation, of course. Another country that is working on this is Austria, and this is the knowledge balance of all intellectual capital report of Austria. And they have now taken a lot of actions on this, and they were the first country in the world to have a law saying that you have to publish an intellectual capital report for your knowledge institutions of a higher level. And this was the first IC report for Donau University in Krems. The law is active from the 1st of May this year. This was the first country in the world to have such a law, saying that we have to publish an annual report on knowledge investment, knowledge indicators, and knowledge processes. I touched upon what Japan is doing, and if you want to read more about it, you can go up on the website of METI, meti.go, Governmental Japan, and the policy on intellectual assets. This is extremely interesting, especially if you take the other angle of the magnitude of IC investment in US, but gradually decreasing, even if the long-term curve has been very positive. France is another country doing this, and therefore there was a report presented to the Prime Minister in France in November last year, and now they have a special committee in France chaired by the Prime Minister to look into the IC of France. How would it be to have a similar one in Thailand? To have a commission and a committee working on the IC of Thailand. The Arab states are doing the same, and this is AKEA, which is called the Arab Knowledge Economy Alliance, for the collaborative advantages of these nations after the oil economy. So what are you going to do when the traditional value of oil is going to be challenged by other energy sources? So therefore they are working on the concept of knowledge innovation zones. And we will talk more about that this afternoon, I guess, knowledge innovation zones. This was a social innovation, and now I'm leaving the national level and going into the enterprise level. And then the social innovation is called accounting, metrics, numbers for the enterprise level. When was it launched? When was the social innovation of accounting launched as an innovation system to measure wealth creation? Well, at least the traditional knowledge says it was 1494. How many years is that since then? So it's more than 500 years ago. And we are still using the metrics of that system. Isn't it time to start with some new approach? Rather than using the old 500-year-old system? Would you like to go on board Thai Air and use a map that is 500 years old and fly from Bangkok to some other places with that map? But that's actually what you are doing when you describe the economy and the future of Thailand. You are using a mapping system that is 500 years old. And it's called accounting. So now we have to go for accounting of minds. Accounting of how you are leveraging the brain power. What should be the unit of analysis? Should it be the weight of your brain, Gordon, or should it be something else? Probably something else. It's still to be invented, but we are moving on, and I will give you some illustration of what's happening. And the unit of analysis for the knowledge economics is, among others, value adding. It's, among others, collaborative advantages, your networks, your relationships, your culture. So the value creation is more and more taking place outside the enterprise than inside the enterprise. So if you take YouTube as an illustration, the value creation in YouTube is outside with 2 employees but 100 million customers per day on the net. So you see that the unit of analysis is moving outside of the enterprise. And that's why we have to start to look at the logic and find some spices in this new logic. And the spices goes back to what we started to see in Scandia, where we were prototyping this, and the CEO of Scandia said in 1992, our intellectual capital is at least as important as our financial capital in providing truly sustainable earnings. And compare that with Ragusa, 600 years, and how do you provide a map for sustainable value adding in your enterprise, in your society, and in your family. Keyword, sustainable. So therefore we started to develop this kind of approach with images. We started to use this image to illustrate the knowledge economics. And the question is, what is most important, the fruits or the roots? The fruits is rather short term. They can become over mature. But what's most important is the roots for the fruits. So therefore you have to turn the perspective upside down. Rather than looking at this, which is the old intelligence, look at this intelligence. The upside-down approach. So how do you nourish the roots for the future? And that is in